Okay, I'm going to call to order the Troy Local Development Corporation Board of Directors meeting. It is July 25th, 2025, 9 a.m. We're going to start with, we have quite a few minutes we need to approve from the April, May, and June meetings. So now that we're all here for this one, let's start with the April minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No opposed? May 30th?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And June 13th?
Keep it up going.
Keep it going, Andy.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Finally, that feels good. Feels
Doesn't that feel refreshing?
That's a Friday morning. Get her done.
Now on to a rather full executive director's report, starting with the Proctor's redevelopment and LOI. Mrs. Donnelly, we can, if you need to move this around however you want.
No, I think we can go into it too. I mean, just to give, kind of an update on it, and Justin can chime in too a bit. Obviously we have a lot of things here to discuss today. The LDC is taking on a lot of activities these days. I keep saying it, so it's all really exciting stuff. An LOI was signed between, I signed for the LDC, the mayor signed for the city, and Columbia also signed, kind of setting out the groundwork for the next steps in the LDC acquiring the old Proctor's Theater and starting construction for it to be the new permanent home of City Hall. So after this, just to give a little timeline, we'll be looking to put in land development agreement between both the LDC board and the Troy City Council within the next month or so, let's say by end of August. And then we'll be looking to also take on lease agreements between the LDC and the city. That action will happen closer to fall for both the council, that'll be before the city council, and this board as well. So, we've been, the city and the LDC and Columbia have been hosting public engagement forums. We're getting good feedback from the public, trying to incorporate it any way we can. Working through some of the misnomers of the project, like the parking and how come it's not going to be a theater, because because it costs $80 million. There's no space. But this is, again, the LDC fulfilling its mission of really, Proctor's is a troubled property that, barring the couple offices that are in there, RPI is already making a move out of there, the chamber's in there. Columbia stabilized this building. It is in phenomenal shape. It has great bones. Tom, you've been in there. I mean, it's pretty impressive how it looks after years of being dilapidated. So Columbia's been great stewards of it, but who knows what happens 10, 20 years from now, and when that building's not occupied, and we've seen that before. So this is kind of a great opportunity with everything else the LDC has going on as well, leveraging some of its other assets, which is again on the agenda here too, to further help lower that burden for the Troy taxpayer, while also having an economic development impact in that corridor while saving a building. So it's really something I'm so excited to work with everybody on this board. And Justin, thank you so much for all the work that you've been putting in on everything lately. When it rains, it pours, right? So, but yeah, and I don't know if there's any other specific details maybe that we'd want to get into about the LOI, Just. I don't know if you have anything you want to chime in on.
Yeah, that's a good summary, and obviously everyone reads the paper, and certainly the folks that are working kind of inside and for the city, like Tom, you're familiar with the basic details in terms of what the strategy is to acquire Proctor's from Columbia, finance the renovation of the building, lease the majority of it to the city, and have it be a permanent home for City Hall and some other organizations. So, in terms of a heads up, what's coming next for the LDC and this board. In August, maybe early September, there'll be resolutions coming to this board, and we'll provide advance, narratives and details for you. The LDA will be something for the LDC to execute on. The LDC will be lead agency for seeker. We're just going to do a nominal seeker review that involves SHPO because it's a historic building. And then there'll be a due diligence period between August and probably November. Nailing down what the scope of the project is, all the finishes, all the rooms, all the layout, all the things, which will land on a final budget for the project. The LDC will adopt a bond resolution for the borrowing, which will be leveraged on the lease that the city would sign. Authorize the lease itself, and then a construction contract, a fixed price construction
Guaranteed
contract.
maximum,
GMP with no risk, essentially, and constraints on timing for delivery, which is really critical to the whole plan here. So once those are approved, probably early November-ish target, we'd look to mid-December to close. This board would own the building, have a construction contract, deliver the facility, and the city would have a place to move to in October, November of 2026. So that's kind of the big picture view, and we're, of course, working in the background on everything that goes into that. So we're certainly busy, and the mayor and Seamus are doing the new term, the yeoman's task of doing the public workshops, getting feedback, getting ideas, and making sure the public and the rest of the city government are aware of what the plan is.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Justin. And it's, we talk about, okay, why is the LDC involved in this? And again, it's perfectly suited for the mission of the LDC. I keep repeating it's the most effective and efficient way to see through the permanent city hall, but, with the timeline that we have, and keep in mind, this is something that, has been going on. This RFP was out a year ago. There's been a lot of thorough site visits and on the city end of looking into the different locations and spots and considering new build or going into this building. And you kind of don't have this opportunity often that you can, in theory, get what is going to feel like a new construction site within this beautiful historic building. So, it checks a lot of boxes. The key thing is the finances, which is, it lowers that burden to the Troy taxpayer. The LDC is here to, is to help the city with that. So, I think that it's such a great opportunity that all kind of came together at the same time. So, a lot of things still have to happen, but the gears are moving, and, we're moving along here. So, and thank you for everybody on this board's support for this so far. I think you're all as excited as we are too. So thank you again for your support with this huge project and all the other stuff that we're about to talk about too.
Speaking of all the other stuff, on to South Troy redevelopment.
So I did want to, I know that we have Tyler and Chuck Profundi here to give a presentation. I did want maybe just some of the current activity going on down there. Maybe if Andrew, you wanted to chime in for a minute of just an update on some of the activities down there. I actually just took a random opportunity to drive the industrial road last night, and it really does feel like things are moving along on there. I mean, every time I go down there, there's a noticeable difference. And I actually happened to be coming over the Menands Bridge and kind of looked over and was like, whoa, there's definitely some progress being made. But if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving a little update on that, please.
Actually, the progress is, and National Grid, it was never a bit, but they're ahead of schedule. They're probably going to wrap up by the end of the month, end of August. With some minor details. The mixing for the stabilization has been going well. They don't foresee any other problems. What you might have noticed is that they're doing some stream bank stabilization along the Lionsgill. There's some sheet pilings that exist there, that some old stuff that they had to take out, others that they had to just shore up a bit. There was a lot of piping that was going across the Lionsgill that they had to remove. So more or less that's what they're doing along the water right now. There's still, I think, 1 or 2 cells closer to King Road that they're finalizing, but they're progressing with that without an issue. What that will mean is, I don't know whether they'll just go for the calendar year as far as the stage, or the phase 2 conclusion goes. If they conclude it sooner, well, that's another step down as far as the revenue stream comes in. So it's another, like $10,000 lesson that will be coming on in monthly revenue. What you might also have noticed down there is that Chevron has commenced their, I don't know if they have any remedial work continuing on the land. It looks like they might, but they do have to do a lot of stabilization along the river. So they've been grubbing all along there, and there's a big open area there. Can you guys reach out to Chevron Real Estate?
We actually did the turbidity curtain for them from the barge.
Yeah, there was also, I guess, a dry period overflow in the CSO down there. That's why I was reaching out to try to find out what the heck was going on there. Bypass the interceptor. Yeah, so that's pretty much where it exists.
Are they gonna be done with phase 2 that you're talking about?
Yeah.
So how long is phase 3 there?
Everything was anticipated to be in an annual cycle.
Okay, so end of 26, they might be kind of wrapping.
Yep, provided, DC doesn't augment their requirements along the route. But yeah, and they won't encounter any kind of surface issues, foundational issues that they did in phase 1. Phase 2, they had a lot of concrete that they had to ship out, but it wasn't anything like phase 1, phase 3, location. Have anything there.
Buried foundation.
Yeah, I mean, the building, you'll be a lot of buildings there, everything from that, and gas line that was a concern, is continuing now, so that's all under issue. And silos, there's them coming down, unlikely having the impact of just straight to the access to the river, west.
Storing your community right to that application, demo down there.
Possibly.
Including that water treatment.
Oh, yeah. The drum that had existed, the example,
Or please talk about the infamous drum.
Yeah,
drum.
The contents were herbicide, pesticide. Mentioned to Justin, I have to imagine the connection to why that's there. That National Grid maintains for the high pressure gas lines, they have a contract to do that. It makes sense that they're using herbicide to clear that area for the gas line, but there's no identification of the match up. So Clean Harbors, that done the investigation, has presented a quote for proper disposal of the drum. Because it's compromised, it doesn't have to be packed, shipped up, and re-sampling of the contents prior to disposal. That bid came in, or that quote came in at $4,512.93. The two other firms that I reached out to for characterization, Bristol have not presented the quote. Bristol doesn't seem like they want to do it. So I feel comfortable that you're not going to save any money waiting for others to come in. And even though this is, I got that benefits from the speed and safety, the slow process getting
So the disposal is, 'cause refresh my memory about, we paid about just the same amount to test, right?
Yeah, to find out what it came from. Because not knowing where it came from, or what it might be, they gotta do a full spectrum analysis. And the lab costs are high on that, as well as how the investigator has to prepare.
Mm-hmm. And is the removal of it pretty cut and dry as it would be? It's
Yeah.
removing it? Or,
Crystal clean, getting sold. Scared about like moving the drum because they feel it's more compromised than I think it is. Mark thinks it is. It's just a dent in the bottom. So they feel that it's smooth, the bottom's gonna fall out. It doesn't appear that way, and when they overpack it, it'll be protected. They might have to scoop up some soil around it, because there's been moving from the drum.
okay. And is this like an all-in price too? It's not, we're not paying more to go somewhere if the bottom does give out?
Well, you know, failures like that, they're not going to respond. There might be an additional piece that's not.
Okay.
So, one of those things, but catastrophic failure is a possibility, I think, as they start to work with it to get it overpacked and moved, if they notice something, they will notice, something else.
Andrew, can they transfer the product from that container to another one? To eliminate the
Well,
potential spill?
They don't transfer it, I mean, that would be more potential losing product, and you still have the potential. The overpack is just putting the drum in a bigger drum.
Right, but you have to move it first.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, and then there's safety consideration.
Jim?
I know you're really concerned about the
You
drum.
could use the herbicide.
Yeah.
I was done putting that
I was
here.
just the
I
same
know
thing,
like a
yeah.
little herbicide in your,
I just,
I'm like a little herbicide in his coffee.
yeah.
Hey, they got you by the balls.
They
They're
do
gonna
have-
charge whatever.
They
What you
do.
gonna do?
I know, that's exactly what it is,
Total
yeah.
is 4,512.93. And if you wanted to just put an upper level in case there is smaller additional cost, that's
5,000?
Is what it is.
Yeah. You guys wanna go forward with an approval? So on the table is the approval for the $5,000 to remediate unless we hear anything back, which fingers crossed we don't. Do we have a motion to approve that, $5,000?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no absent, great. Okay.
Thank you, Andrew.
Anything?
No?
Great.
No?
That technically covers King Field cleanup too, right?
Yeah.
Let's go into geothermal. What do you got for us?
So geothermal, we've, not sure if we last updated the board where, so the next, the extension of the PSC filing is it September 8th, Justin, or I believe
I
September?
think we're targeting early September.
September. So there's a lot of the legal back and forth right now and ironing out the thermal fee, still, but that work continues to what seems to be maybe 3 times a week, various meetings. Andrew, too, I know you were just on a recent one yesterday, if there's anything if there's anything worth updating, I wasn't able to get onto that one, but, not really, unless Andrew or Justin have something to add, but I don't see it as there's really anything that drastically different to report back, except for that a lot's still getting ironed out. I know recently we did start to trim down some of the working groups from like 40 people to about 5 or 6. I do think that's helping, kind of get on the same page, and, there's just still some key factors here being ironed out, and really the number one concern, of course, on the LDC end and ultimately for the city too, is just making sure that, everything is fully covered on our end, that built into this fee, that we're not left hanging. Like we've said, you know, if X amount of years down the road, not that that's what anybody's intention is, something happens, it's not like the LDC wants to, I mean, I don't know, maybe we will become a power authority, why not? But you know, so it's really, a lot of work. Justin, Andrew, Tony are putting in a lot of work, just really making sure that the LDC's back's covered, for what this investment is, that we're not left hanging. And a huge part from the city end of it, of course, is, you know, making sure that all the construction and everything that ultimately ends up happening down on, Chamberlain Riverfront Park there gets, you know, restored properly and not just, you know, a quick cover, but, you know, restored to what it should be. So I feel like those are some of the key issues. There's, of course, a lot of particulars that fold into that, and it's just really, daily working through all of those. But if Andrew or Justin have anything from Thursday that they'd wanna, any changes, I guess,
Nothing major.
worth bringing up.
Working through the details, and just for an update, the LDC, as part of the project, is expected to borrow and build the geothermal bore field under Riverfront Park, and then also put in a pump station under what we call the staircase. It's in between the Art Center and the Douchy building. The IDA actually built that about 10 years ago, and underneath that is a garage that I think the bid and some others have just been storing stuff in. But that'll be a series of pumps and manifolds that connect to the bore field. How do we pay for it? National Grid's going to build the rest of the distribution network and connect all the buildings, and they're going to use the bore field as a source of energy or a storage tank. Basically, it's a battery to run water through, cool it, and bring it back. They're going to pay the LDC an annual thermal fee. What we're trying to do is make sure that the thermal fee that they pay is equal to whatever we borrow, whatever our operations and maintenance O&M costs are, whatever our insurance costs are, whatever our administrative costs are. So we're really trying to drill down into what is that, try to quantify it, hypothetical borrowing, hypothetical O&M contracts, you know, that kind of stuff. So while National Grid and the LDC and the city have been kind of working through that kind of, you know, brain drain, everything's subject to the Public Service Commission. We have to put together this petition, and they have to ultimately approve it. So the deadline in September is really getting it to the PSC, so we're kind of working feverishly in the background to put together an intelligent pitch. And if they endorse it, then we kind of move to the next step.
Yeah, because really our deadline's a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Because
what to do.
once everybody, you know,
Laptops on vacation.
Is there any relation to that? Isn't National Grid doing, like, what's the building that's going, like, kind of in the Monument Square lot?
The Energy Center.
The energy
They have their
center.
own kind of pump station,
Yeah.
off of ours. It's part of their distribution system, and this is all partially being paid with a NYSERDA grant, and that grant is paying for our, you know, study costs, you know, the soft costs at the beginning. And part of that, NYSERDA included a requirement that when, wherever Grid plants that part of their pumping, there'll be an energy center there where the public can, like, look through a window and see all the pipes and valves and understand how geothermal works. So, it was originally planned to go in the atrium, kind of in the basement, with a kind of an interpretive center there, and it's hard to say what's gonna happen with the atrium. It's kind of a jump ball right now, but, Monument Square is a little bit more predictable, even though it has its own uncertainty. But there is enough space there where we can kind of plant it there without, you know, a huge housing project or a parking garage or something being planted on top of it. So, it got relocated to one Monument Square, tucked into the corner, I think up against, it might be Sam Judge's
It is,
building
it is,
to the
Sam's.
north. Yeah,
Sam's building.
so,
Yeah, I saw it in like, previous planning meetings from like a while ago, it looks good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice,
I mean, it fits in, it's
Yeah.
modest, simple building, you know, structure, it shouldn't, and, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely is, I mean, ultimately with everything going on with I mean, it is, I think that was a great pivot away from the atrium. I mean, although I understand part of that now, but I mean, man, when all you have to do is walk the basement of the atrium and
yeah.
realize it's,
Right. Ultimately, the
you know.
city owns like the meat of the sandwich, if you
Well-
will. The atrium has, the city owns the middle connective tissue, if you will.
Mhm.
And no matter what happens there, having that permanent new energy center planted in the middle is gonna be restrictive for
It's an
whatever
harder,
may.
yeah.
For what, exactly, because for that to move forward, which to be positive there, I definitely see, I feel in the future that something positive will definitely happen there, especially with the little sliver of that the city owns, the farmer's market has, I wanna say, a 3-year lease in there right now with the current owners that are holding the atrium. They want to see a positive development happen there, so, it will still end up getting something out of that too, but yeah, just the makeup of the utilities and the way the basement and
Future development.
who owns what, it removes at least one wrench out of what will be multiple whenever that happens with the atrium, so that's good.
Our, last item is the notorious BIG, our, business improvement grant. Do we have some?
And then on my notes says
updates?
BIG. You heard? But, me and Danae met this week, and, I know we've kind of tossed around back and forth of if we open back up, applications, if we take the people there's a couple applications that are really good that are kind of outstanding. There's also people that had reached out but did not do a full application. So what I was going to suggest is one other to add into this, so to back up a little bit. With the ARPA program, if there's projects that leave some money on the table, we're allowed to reallocate that with city council approval, reallocate that to a new existing project. So for example, the South Troy Industrial Road, part of that ARPA funding, there was roughly a little over $300,000 left over on that. That was in regard to the salt pile deal, and that funding switched over to a park project that was already an approved bucket, so that money's going into Kinloch Park. So since this is such a effective program with, the $50,000 grants, mine, Danae's thought was if I'm going through the process of kind of checking in on all the ARPA projects. So if a couple have 40,000 here and 50,000 there, and I've discussed with the mayor, and I think it's something that the city council would agree with, because we really have seen it be so successful that, if there is another 100,000 or so of ARPA, maybe it makes sense to put it back into the LDC small business grant program, and at that point, it probably would make sense if now we have roughly $200,000 left in that program. If we could find another, maybe almost 2 and make it 4, it probably would make sense to just go back and open up the whole thing and do another round of applications. But then our thought, which we wanted to bring to the board to discuss, is if that doesn't end up happening, maybe we just go off of the existing folks we have, and, that might require a resolution to tweak a little bit of the guidelines, and maybe the board just votes on, 4 of those that get awarded. So just throwing that out there, does that sound like a good idea to the board? Kind of see in another month or so, once I get through my mid-year ARPA review, if there is an opportunity to put more money into the program, obviously city council approval, et cetera, then maybe we open it back up. But if not, maybe we stick with the applications and folks we have, and then the board decides. I think the board should decide either way, just to trim that down. I mean, we could try to reconfigure the whole committee. It would be us just probably taking a simple action just to kind of tweak the guidelines. But I wanted to throw it out to the board to see what the thoughts were there.
I wish we had a facade renewal grant still.
Anyway, so
That was probably a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
But remember that one?
I didn't hear what the first part you said.
Facade.
Like,
Oh.
yeah, the 1.0 version of this was not for businesses to get 50K. It was a 5K match
It was, yeah.
for homeowners. You had to be living in the residence, and it could only go to exterior improvements. They had, you guys went through 80.
Yeah, it was a
More,
lot of them.
over 100 of those. It was
Yeah.
a lot.
And this was something that
It was an
LDC.
LDC.
Oh, okay.
So it is a previous existing program, but it's kind of on.
That was funded with,
Not.
that came from King Fuels, ironically.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was the
Yeah.
National Grid, that initial deposit on an LDA that
Yeah.
in a license agreement that was kind of stubbed out in 2014 or 15,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, that's what we did talk about. We're like, this is such a cool thing, it would be great if we could kind of continue to do it. The, ARPA regulations, it means it has to be an approved ARPA project.
Oh, gotcha.
By the end of December of 2024, so if
It
it's
should be
not,
an existing list.
yeah, within
Gotcha.
ones that the council have already approved, yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
so that they can switch in.
I thought it
I
was
mean,
an existing city project, that makes sense.
One good thing, though, I mean, it's not as for business but homeowners, because it is happening in the city, but there is an ARPA-funded program that gets administered through TRIP that is doing facade improvements. And we actually, it's another thing that has to be followed up in the city end, but we actually tweaked it a little bit to try to make it so, to encourage multiple people in the same vicinity or block. So if, compared to if, me, Tom, and Andy live on a block, we're gonna get scored higher if all three of us say, hey, we wanna go after this, so we can kind of do a block-by-block approach. So there is some facade programs going through that. But yeah, any of those smaller grants, businesses, facade improvements, that those folks, it goes such a long way. I mean, the city council does the neighborhood improvement programs. I mean, those community members that are so invested, they take that $1,000 and really turn it into something. I mean, it seems like small money, but the folks that, see it through really make an impact with it. But,
Yeah, it sounds like by the next meeting, you guys might have some more
We should-
direction on it, and as long as we don't let the money go to waste, that sounds great. Whatever
Okay.
it ends up getting used for, as long as let's just not leave it on the table.
correct. So that's what that money has to be spent by the end of 2026. So, we definitely wanna, whatever we do, we wanna do in the next month or so for sure, so that way we can make sure it's out the door.
That concludes executive director's items. Now we have on a new business, we have two guests here that are gonna go over the South Shore redevelopment project, CD Payne relocation and redevelopment project, officially. I don't know, there's like 3 names for this. So you apologize, you guys.
Hi, you got another mat down there?
I'm gonna use mine.
I got a couple of. Oh, okay.
And there's James, did you get the?
Yes, yep, thank you.
Yeah, so some of the board members and staff here probably remember we ran down a road here very similar, right, previously. And just an overall, I did this overall document just to kind of give an overview and what our strategic purposes and what are the future milestones we're trying to accomplish. But in a grand scheme, Troy Materials Group is advancing now the relocation of American rock salt.
Hey, Chuck, I apologize. Jeff, do you have another copy of that? I thought I had it. I thought we were looking at the LOI, but, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, but moving American rock salt from the downtown district to the South Burden district on Fane-owned parcels that are just south of the county jail. The movement represents the first tangible step towards realizing a larger scale vision, which is to move some of the industrial uses in the north, in the vicinity of Adams Street and where the salt pile is now, south of the jail, right? Kind of in line with the long-term land use objectives, both in the comp plan and what the city has talked about for years, which is moving those uses out of the urban core into light industrial zoned areas in the reinvestment districts that were established along 787 and Hudson River and south of the jail. This first phase initiative accomplishes a number of objectives, right? It starts to utilize some of the properties that are in that brownfield redevelopment area that National Grid is currently working on, as you folks just gave some update to. Supports compact growth, improves mobility and infrastructure, and maintains some critical jobs locally for the region and operations in the region. And this is all overviewing really what we're about to explain here into this exploration and this broader vision. We're proposing to work with the LDC on a letter of intent and future development agreement to explore an acquisition site control of some of those LDC-owned properties south of the jail. Those properties are the properties and parcels that surround the Fain-owned parcel that we're looking at relocating American Rock Salt to. The LOI's intent is to formally initiate a collaborative planning process, with the LDC, ourselves, and other related organizations that can allow, the development team to look into a number of different things like preliminary engineering and feasibility studies, coordinated joint applications with the LDC to support infrastructure investment, through grants for job creation, site readiness, and some of the major, I call them irregular development expenses that exist down there. The road is largely a giant private driveway, right? So there's some cleanup and things that has to be done with making that capable of being turned over to the city at some point and making it a true public road. There's a bridge that needs a tremendous amount of work down there for future development potential. And are the roads at the location they're at right now really the most effective locations to have them at for a future redevelopment? And one of the largest components to investigate is American Rock Salt is that smaller bite at the first industrial user moving south. The grander vision could be that the full marine operation in the north, run by the Troy Materials Group and C.D. Perry, have an opportunity to move south, right? But without marine access, seawall, and deep water, there's no opportunity for C.D. Perry to relocate down there. I think from our due diligence, there's a tremendous amount of supportive things down there, letters patent, deep water, the current land use that supports their uses day to day within their operation. But we really need to start investigating the feasibility of that, and also looking at grant opportunities to support some of the private, go alongside some of the private investment. It's construction of a seawall like that's not something that a private industry can fully burden. Currently they have one, right? So there's a grander impact with working collectively, I feel, down there to open up those northern industrial uses that are there today for more residential mixed-use redevelopment. And we go through in the rest of this document just some of that phased redevelopment opportunity, and what could be explained in this LOI, and just the smaller bites at a larger plan, right? So our phase strategy is intentional and scalable, right, to the end goal in the north of the urban revitalization, but moving heavy industrial users south into an appropriate zone, which I just said, simultaneously unlocking Troy's most valuable real estate for economic and community growth. All said and done, something this large needs to be investigated for feasibility, right? I think everybody would agree that this relocation of industrial uses south sounds great for the city. It's going to provide a lot of economic development benefit for the surrounding neighborhood and community to have access to the river. But to make sure that it is a collaborative effort and has some type of success ahead of it, we need to do some investigation, which I think this LOI and future land development agreement will lead us down a path where we could start working collectively on that planning opportunity and planning process. This site plan that you're looking at kind of gives this is a working document, it's not final, but it kind of gives an idea of some of the things that we've been looking at here, where that future port delivery component could be due to, water depths on the Hudson. What are those opportunities look like for maybe road realignments, which you can see here. You can see the salt structure building laid out on the Fain-owned parcels, as well as some aggregate installations and things on another Fain-owned parcel. we're working currently with CSX alongside American Rock Salt for the opportunity of rail siding for the transload facility. You know, it's been a longer conversation, but we're getting there. We're making strides forward alongside American Rock Salt. And, you know, the idea on this would be trying to consolidate some of these lots, realign roads, see what opportunities could be driven in through supporting some of that financially, and making that overall district more versatile, useful space at the end of a national grid cleanup, right? When it's right to be planned and executed on. So. And I'll get off my soapbox. That's all I got.
You wouldn't need if the salt storage is here, you wouldn't need the barge access at that, like, let's say the two sections south of the river, north of the river.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a water supply line that feeds across the river that's right over here, so I'm not sure how feasible that is.
Yeah.
There's a gas line that runs here.
And there's the gas.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no deep water access there.
Right.
We've looked into some of the bathymetric surveys and
So
stuff.
similarly, down at the King Fuels piece, we'll call it, probably noticed that, what they call a dolphin,
Yeah.
that protrudes out into the river. That's what they use for, ships and barges to, moor to. So,
They're shipping gas. The gas that
Yeah.
they produced
Yeah.
before National Grid was there.
right.
So its predecessor, and then King Fuels, I think they're bringing oil in there, like oil barges.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you guys so that's just road access between the two, that makes sense.
It's all transloads on rail and truck.
Yeah, I mean, so this is an existing property, like Chuck said, so this would be, you know, the initial piece of the puzzle, you know, into the salt pile relocation, right? So, you know, the rail plays a large part into that, not so much with a seawall. You know, Chuck's site plan here kind of shows the broader vision of everything. You know, a lot of times when we talk about, like, the properties on Adams Street, there's about 3 to 4 different operations that are occurring up there. The one that everybody talks about notoriously is the salt pile, right?
Yeah.
So,
When you see.
yeah, so this is kind of like a phased approach, for that, and,
Yeah, Shane owns this generally right now.
Yep.
And
this, yeah, yep.
And the King Road, which is actually kind of a private driveway, technically, it's interesting, but right here is Sperry, lands that the city owns. And the LDC owns this, 4 acres to the north of the Wynotskill, and the city owns around 7-ish acres for what we call Sperry Warehouse. So this theoretically is all one assemblage that could be taken down and developed in an earlier phase. This is a little bit more
that's the
challenging.
city too.
Yeah,
right?
This is the
Yeah.
LDC right there, yeah. So it's 4 and 7, so it's about 12-ish, call it. And then down here, the LDC owns 16 acres, which is really the more intensive cleanup that's gonna keep going for another year. But this is 16 acres south of the Wynotskill, so kind of a phase 2-ish, depending on how everything locks together. One of the biggest challenges is you'll see here the double rail track on this map.
Mhm.
The double doesn't exist yet. The challenge and one of the most cost intensive additions here and regulatory and CSX challenges is
Yeah.
to put this spur in all the way up to Main Street as a tandem to park rail cars to get them in and out, to load in and load out salt. The bigger challenge there is there's an existing CSX bridge over the Wynotskill that would have to support 2 rails, not just 1. So there's a lot of engineering that goes into that bridge, and all of that stuff Chuck's been digging into for years now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
What happens with the bridge plan? Like, if essentially, the quicker this is, I don't wanna, not saying to do it for this reason, but I would hope that if efforts are being put forward for something like this, they're not gonna say, oh, by the way, we need to take up some of this. Like, if they need to move it here versus here versus
The
redoing it.
378 bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's.
We're keeping an eye on that too, because they have
Right.
3 they have 7 options that are now down to 2 or 3.
Yeah, it would be frustrating to see all the work you're doing and be like, oh, by the way.
Yeah.
Correct,
It's
yeah, we wouldn't like
frustrating.
that either.
Yeah.
Andrew, I think, so what are those 3 options? 2 options.
With the one that's focused on as far as advancement goes, is geometrically bridge standards right now, they're looking to tie in a bridge into a road on a straight path. So they're looking at Mill Street as the conduit of connection. That would necessitate the new bridge being relocated to the north of the existing bridge, which would present some aerial issues and structural issues being created on top of this plant.
More impacting the transfer station than this, but.
Well,
Yeah.
it goes a bit to the north of the transfer station, or the way that the current model is. And this is all online through DOT website to see what things are. If you look at health study for the 378 bridge, it'll provide graphics on all the options that are being progressed. And
Building
so you
Patty and high span maybe on this map, if you have it, there's a building E on the south end of Kingfield.
Yeah,
Maybe high span over that in the dock.
yeah,
It's not going right down the middle of this, that's all I was
Right,
really
yeah.
asking.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna cut through the middle
It's
of that.
something that we'd have to, and it kind of goes into, I don't believe this planning process and some of the feasibility studies that we're working on are something that's going to just be completed in 1 or 2 years. You know, you're talking about investigating things that have a very heavy regulatory action, permitting process, and,
The
I
core in
think-
particular in the river.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this feels like it moves in decades, not.
well, I don't think that long, but yeah, I mean, you could kind of focus in on what is really the primary important slugs of phases and areas of focus, and I think, that being done alongside what DOT talks to the city planning about is huge too. You know, we could kind of work in tandem where,
the window for the bridge replacement is under 10 years. The remaining life of the 378 bridge at maximum is 10 years. So right now, Department of Transportation is trying to secure funding for bridge replacement, which I think the estimate is 30 million that will be needed because of the limited bridge is given fine. They kind of anticipate funding and commencement of solicitation maybe 5 years. That they have.
Then the price will be 45.
That's great.
The actual bridge will be like more than 300.
Yeah.
Materials management. So, you know, it's the funding on plays but whatever's done in this area, the city is an advocate for preventing any kind of negative impact to the site, any negative economic development oriented. And WSP is DOT's engineers for the planning process. They're right upstairs. They know my name very well, because we're constantly pushing back. They're looking at Mill Street. We say, hey, Morrison offers a lot of opportunities. We don't think it's great. They don't see that Mill Street has a geometry and also impacts a number of things. They would just have to dig out a lot of the north side of Morrison and could. But again, it's all economically driven. And they reiterate that this is a project that is built with the intent of considering the next 50 years. And which I put back on the list. Exactly. That's why we need to consider something more than just easy access to the free system. So we'll see. But again, that's definitely something to consider. And with any kind of advocacy, which it will take both for any kind of seawall construction in this area, not putting any channelization improvements, take away something that concrete that exists now, to put something new in, offset, is gonna require a lot of cogs.
Yep. Hence the feasibility studies,
Right.
right? I think there's, this is a great vision, a great opportunity, but it all starts with, can it be done, right? And I just wanna, we wanted to make it evident too that it, C.D. Perry and the Troy Materials Group up in the north, right? Although Don and Tyler would love to show some type of movement towards residential development up there. I mean, those businesses provide a huge benefit to the local communities with marine construction access and port services, transload, and I think on this side of the river, you're the last port
Before Poughkeepsie.
Before Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
So there's a regional impact that they provide. So it's not just close up shop and build apartments, right? You gotta find a suitable location downriver to actually continue those operations. And these feasibility studies and this letter of intent, I think, will really start to peel back the layer of the onion, see what's available and what's not. So.
Who is Troy Materials LLC?
It's a sister company. It's owned by,
Big family.
yeah, our family.
That's Brittany's.
It's my sister Brittany, yeah. She's like, what?
What, Gene? No, this is good. This might be your best map yet, Chuck.
Thanks.
But now, do you still, though, one thing, do you still feel, I know and definitely agree with, we want to kind of keep the ball rolling on this, and I guess, pun intended, there can be, a couple trains on a couple tracks at the same time here while we're trying to get to the ultimate goal, but, like we talked about, trying to maybe move as parts are happening on more of the southern end of it, make some movement as other pieces are going in. So it's kind of definitely a phased approach, but like a layered phase where some
Yeah.
things might happen at the same time as we keep moving forward, right?
That's correct, yeah. So I think there's definitely opportunity to parallel track a few things. We're investigating an opportunity of even looking at stuff in the north early, but we just got to work through those details and.
The main thing is the phased approach, Seamus, parallel without business interruption,
Mm-hmm.
or minimal business interruption, right?
Mhm.
Just like moving City Hall,
Right.
that's a whole plan in and of itself.
Right.
Both things
Transitioning
happening at the
operations
same time.
without interrupting, because you have contracts.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
So.
Contracts
tell
and
your-
relationships and tenants even.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming your phase one would include the salt and building A, B, and C construction?
Yeah, that'd be further down the line, but correct. We would look into, really, phase one would be the salt
Rail
and rail, and then starting to explore what is the cost of, demolition and asbestos abatement of the Sperry warehouse? What is, some feasibility in researching of port access in the southern area, right? Is there opportunity to investigate alongside grant opportunities, the realignment of the roads to be more properly laid out for a development, a future industrial use? As you can kind of see here, and these aren't set in stone, these were just illustrations, graphics, but what we tried to do is take that Kings Road, keep the permitted vehicle bridge location that exists today, right? And try to realign those roads so that there's more continuous use across the larger acreage, right? You're not crossing a future city road to get from one complex to the other side of the complex. Not to say these will stick, but this was just an illustration of what we could look into collectively under a development agreement, and start to see what opportunities start to flourish.
I don't know anything about that.
Demolition time.
Yep.
Look at the economic viability, abatement, and the subsidy for, everything to remove roofs and stuff. We may not have
Just because of some of the collapse, it's all cross-contaminated.
Yeah. Well, this would be an ultimate sell.
And if you want
our properties.
On a phase basis, yeah.
Okay.
You have an option, they'll be the master developer, and they'll take it down.
How do we,
Ultimately, this and then
right. I guess I'm just trying to think of how do we protect ourselves, make sure what this is gonna
right, the sequencing and then development agreements
be.
and
Agreed. Yeah, and we've held on it for so long.
just win anything.
Right. Well, but we also wanna make sure we're
Okay.
getting,
Yeah, we want to make sure it's
we'll make sure
delivered,
it's getting,
yeah.
yeah, we spent the time and effort. and-
There'll be back-end pilot agreements with the IDA on this, to
Okay.
have performance measures.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. You're going right down the.
I'll start looping you on this, some of this stuff,
Yeah,
you get bored with it, but,
okay.
or it'll be like,
No, no,
but yeah,
that's just,
keep you
yeah,
on top of it,
yeah.
yeah.
As the old guy, I remember, so, yeah.
You probably, know
So,
as much as I do.
just to come back around on this, just to give any more chance for board member questions for this, first look at the LOI, we don't have any, like, action from today. I think we'll keep seeing some more progress on this, possibly next meeting, we'll see. Any comments, any other questions for our guests here?
No,
You have them?
No, I'm all set. Did we do the 5,000 for the?
Oh, I think we approved the 5,000
Yeah, we
for
did.
the infamous
Yes.
drop.
That was a whole 15 minutes ago. I don't know.
Shiny thing.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for your time this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, you can stick around for the financials and the agreement, but
No,
don't want
that's okay.
to-
I'm good.
You're good?
No, you're good to go.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. We'll probably have more questions, all that stuff, and see you soon, I hope.
Yes,
Um,
thank you.
That concludes our new business. We have no old business for this meeting.
Thank you.
But we do have, financials now, so let's go for that.
Thanks, Chuck.
Yeah.
Follow up,
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Alex.
Good, Chuck, thanks.
Our first report is statement of financial position. As of June 30th, we had total assets of $3,591,502 with $478,859 in cash. We have total liabilities of $1,160,716 with less than delayed fund balance of $2,429,786. No significant change. Statement of financial position. June. And lastly, we have the statement of activity. For the month of June, we ran a deficit of $6,786. Our most significant source of revenue was the monthly National Grid license fee, and then our largest expenses were professional services.
Any questions, or do we have a motion to approve this?
I got questions, and again, I'm sorry, I'm going back, as the old guy here. We had a bunch of loans, there were a couple that were bad. Did we write all those off, and remember there were some,
We have no more active.
right, did we write them off? What did we do?
We had one that we actually collected on because the building sold, so one, banquet.
Okay.
Banquet hall.
BSM,
Oh,
we
it did?
actually
Banquet
we collected on.
collected
did?
with
Oh, wow.
buildings, Yeah,
Yep.
it was good.
Okay,
And I don't think we have any others.
77 Congress, I think.
okay,
There was, I think that was installed, but all the other ones. we
okay.
collected.
When did, Banquet House? That doesn't matter. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve.
Or early this year?
January this year.
January
Okay.
this year, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
first
Finally got a
quarter
buyer
this
and
year.
squared
Yep.
up.
Okay. Okay.
Who bought that? Was it Johnson Electric?
I don't know, I
I know he subdivided, I think, the property, had a house on it and the bank.
Yeah, there's a 2 or 4 unit separate property and then the banquet hall.
Yeah.
I
I thought maybe it was
that.
They haven't
Johnson.
circled back for help. We haven't heard anything from the buyer, I don't think. Usually, the next step is they come and
Right.
say, hey, we got planted, which is good, right? But I don't think we've seen a follow-on.
No.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we have a motion to adjourn.
Yes. I might as well keep it going.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.